What makes a successful RPG? Today on Out of Character. Hi, and welcome to Out of Character. I'm Jason Corley.
I'm Derek Rex.
And I'm Jonathan Strootman.
And assisting us today with engineering is Aaron Lee Newburn.
Hello.
And today, before we jump into today's topic, I wanted to reply to some feedback that we got from Nick Danger42, obviously a Firesign Theater fan like myself. He posted on YouTube about our discussion of the definition of gamer. So, Aaron, I knew you'd be interested in this. He said that an exclusionary attitude towards who's a real gamer and who's not a real gamer, he said that exclusionary attitude displays a lack of maturity, and of course, as a personality flaw, GMs should definitely exploit it.
Okay.
Wow.
Aaron, what do you think about that?
I don't know how to feel. What do?
All right. Well, thanks for the feedback, Nick. And of course, we read them all, even if we don't have time to reply to them. So today we're going to talk about what makes a successful RPG. Now, right now, from what I hear in talking to various RPG industry and hobby figures, there doesn't seem to be a bottom as to how badly RPGs can do. It seems like no matter how poorly RPGs do this year, next year they will do even worse.
Okay.
But within the context of RPGs, what makes one successful and another one not so successful?
Well, you know, the first thing I'm looking for with an RPG is something that's going to have some depth to it. There's a lot of great games. They're a lot of fun if you're doing them one-off. Okay. Maybe a few run-on sessions, take up a month or so, and then it's time to put that away. That, I think, right off the bat.
What creates depth? What, in your mind, makes you want to come back and play a game again and again?
The ability to take a character and grow the character, explore the character, and really get to know that character. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. A character that's going to have a very short lifespan, can be fun to play. Right, we were talking about paranoia earlier today, and how you can just bring those clones out, but eventually, even in one session, you might run through the whole character, all 6 clones. It's a lot of fun, but it's not the game that I'm going to sit down and play for any prolonged period of time.
Now, you say that as if you playing a game for a prolonged period of time will make it financially successful, but isn't the opposite true? If you buy a single game and then play it for 2 or 3 years, isn't that a failure from the company's perspective? Since they only sold you one book, right?
Well, no, because, of course, they've got all their supplements that they're going to come out with, and they got their modules. John, what do you think on this?
I was thinking that as long as it's entertaining, it's successful. Mm-hmm. If everybody's sitting around having a good time. You look
at it from the perspective of someone who sees a successful game as one that you personally can enjoy.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as everybody's sitting down and having a good time, then it's successful to some extent. Some would be more successful than others. The ones that keep drawing you back, maybe the ones that draw you in day after day, that get your mind thinking about that character all the time. Yeah, but then again, sometimes you just want to be retarded and immature with your friends and sit around just cracking jokes and basically letting the game go wherever it will. But you're sitting around having a good time with your friends. So
some of the games that I've been playing recently are short form games like the ones you described, Eric. Like we played Fiasco, I believe.
Right.
Fiasco is a game, and we've talked about it a million times on the show before, but it's a game that's designed to be over in about 2 to 3 hours, and it's supposed to basically replicate the feel of a Coen Brothers movie, where everybody has sort of things that they need and things that they want, and there's relationships between everyone at the table, and everyone just runs around backstabbing each other and making insane plans that all fall apart. And then you're done. At the end, there is a denouement. You know what happens to your character. So a group that plays a lot of Fiasco is not going to play the same character, but they might be attracted to that form of short form. Whoever's here tonight, we're going to play this game, and we kind of know what we're going to get.
Yeah, and I'm sure
that conflict.
Yeah,
yeah, and I'm sure that there are some people that really do enjoy that whole aspect of, it's a new exploration every time we play. It's a new character. I get to try different things out. I'm not pigeonholed into maybe some bad choices I've made with a character, but I do think that probably more role players are going to want a game where they've got that opportunity to show growth.
Right.
You know, typically most games have some sort of mechanic in it for experience gained,
right?
Experience levels, class levels, or, you know, even if it's not, it's just you get better at doing things.
Right. I think one thing that makes for a successful game in today's sort of social media day and age is the game has a sort of language to it that you can talk about it with other gamers. So for example, D&D, every gamer has some sort of idea of what D&D is and what it's about. So that makes it a very successful game because I can go to a game club in Los Angeles and maybe they've never played Fiasco. And like my being psyched about Primetime Adventures.
But you can go in there and say the word Thaco and watch everybody start to sweat.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Or like, hey, my cleric is here, you know, can I play? And oh, yeah, sure, bring your cleric in. You know, and that makes it successful on a social level because you can discuss different characters, you can discuss different campaigns, and you have something to compare it to.
Well, that's interesting. So the entire vernacular is the way because you can communicate with others in that vernacular.
You know what the goal of the game is. It's very clear.
Yep. Now, let's take a little bit backwards look at this. What makes a game not successful?
That's a good question.
You know, and of course, you know, companies will tell you if they're not making sales, that's not a successful game.
Right.
But what are some of the things that you've encountered where you felt this was an example of a role-playing game that wasn't successful?
To me, the biggest arbiter of success in role-playing games from this financial standpoint, not from the enjoyment standpoint, which can be entirely different things, is games which have accessibility problems.
In what way?
The games which cannot grow because they have some barrier between a new player sitting down and picking up the dice.
Right.
Or cards or fate points or whatever.
How fast can I be kicking down a door in this game?
And it's not even, you know, I'm not saying like, you know, if you're not playing a John Wick game where it's 6 stats and go, it's a terrible game. Games can be enjoyable, but a large part of gaming that no one thinks about is presentation.
Okay.
Is how is this information presented to a new player? How accessible, if I look at a character sheet, can I find what I'm looking for in the rules of this game without spending 3 hours?
But what you said, there's another part to this too. Any game could be made horrible or better by a good or bad GM.
Or, yeah, good or bad physical presentation of the materials or social presentation in the form of a GM or teacher.
Right.
There's one game that had a particularly remarkable presentation. It came out recently. It's not even really a role-playing game. We've just talked about it on the podcast before. A Penny for My Thoughts.
All right.
In which the instructions of the game are read in character by one of the players. And essentially the concept of the game is everyone is mental patients experiencing this psychiatric treatment together. You've all been dosed with an experimental memory-enhancing drug to get through your amnesia. Oh my God. So the player is reading the concept of the game, and you're teaching this game as you are getting into the character and as you're beginning to experience.
So just by total immersion.
Exactly, total immersion from the
Yeah,
jump.
and we've talked about this previously, having that kind of like in a video game when you start the game off, you have the tutorial on how to manipulate the game, how to manipulate, you know, the controller.
Right.
So some role-playing games kind of take that same approach. At the beginning of the game, we're going to show you, we're going to give you a demo of how to play the game, but you're going to do it, we're going to do it together. So great way to do that. One of the things I was thinking about is a game that bogs down in, for example, combat. You know, tried implementing a set of rules into Dungeons & Dragons many, many years ago where every single weapon had its own chart.
Yes.
Of, you know, you had to
weapon
cross
speed, weapon versus this kind of shield.
All the different kinds of armors and things like this.
And
then literally it was like every roll you made of combat was a 2-minute process to figure out what happened. We know someone who once tried to develop his own game, and literally you needed a calculator. And I'm not kidding. You had to have a calculator to determine if you were successful when trying to, you know,
it's a good idea if you're a calculator company.
But yes, imagine that you're sitting over there, you're rolling some dice, and then you're starting to add things and a million variables.
But you have that one friend
everything.
that's like, you know what, I could be hardcore. I'm going to bring in my abacus.
Yes, there's always one hipster at the table that has to be like, oh, you guys have probably never heard of this. This is the abacus.
So a game where even if you're relatively familiar with it, if you've got to stop and pause and take a huge amount of time out of the game to determine whether or not you were successful in something.
Right.
I don't think that's going to go too far.
So a successful game is one that fulfills a niche, that has some social footprint that's appropriate for the group, whether it's long-term growth or a particular kind of conflict that you like. A game that's successful is going to be personally enjoyable. It's going to be presented well. It's going to be accessible. So now that you know how to make your own successful role-playing game, you are going to be the savior of the industry. So next year, you are going to write the hit that saves us all. So please tweet us your thanks for giving you all of these wonderful ideas. And you can talk to us on Facebook. You can also post your great game ideas in the show notes on YouTube or on pulpgamer.com. And if you join us next week, we'll talk about putting your own personal spin on published scenarios.
Oh, I love that topic.
Which is what we're going to do to your game when it comes out, and it's terrible. Thanks for watching.
Hey, before we wrap up, do you mind if I plug some Grok Bloodface stuff?
Please do, yes.
So please go to facebook.com/Grok Bloodface, grokbloodface.com, or twitter.com/Grok Bloodface.
Okay.
This guy gets around.
Yeah, clearly this guy is a social media magnet there.
A little bit.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
PulpGamer.com